Welcome back, YouTubers, to the breakdown of Chapter 14 of the Turner Diaries. So, in this chapter, Earl Turner is actually held to task for what happened to him, getting captured and imprisoned and tortured and giving up information to the system. So, the organization has called him in and they hold a trial. And they basically find him guilty, but understand the circumstances in which he was put in, that he had little or no choice, and he hadn't completed his probationary period to get into their little secret order thing. So they basically give him a task that he's not, that is going to be something in the future. They're going to give him a task, I should say, in the future, into which he probably won't survive, and that'll make up for everything, and he'll still be in good standings, yada yada. So, it goes to show, if you're in an organization like this, or maybe in, who knows, maybe this is how the Illuminati or whatever works too. These secret organizations where they're wearing their black hoods and shit. They've got these little rules they've got to follow, and then of course there's consequences because they hold themselves to a higher standard. And the same as in this story where for Turner. So he's going to end up losing his life later, or being put in a situation where he could lose his life. If he happens to live, then all is good. But more than likely, they don't expect him to, with whatever they plan on him doing. So Turner finds out that the organization changed their game plan because they just weren't getting their new recruits or replacement for their frontline fighters. So instead of working one way, they expected it to. What happened was they expected that the conservatives and the Christians and all would join in, and that their morals would kick in, and their sense of patriotism and stuff like that would kick in. But it never did, because they're all fat and lazy and would rather watch TV and eat their barbecues. They still got full bellies, and they've got entertainment. So whatever happens. They're willing to put up with the tyranny that's going on, just so that they can be, comfortable. And you see that today. Americans have especially gotten to the point where you can pretty much do whatever you want to them, as long as they've still got their internet, porn, and food in their belly. They could care less about their freedoms anymore. They're all willing to give up, their First Amendment right, their Second Amendment right, their Fifth Amendment right, their Fourth Amendment right. They just, whatever, take it all. Doesn't matter. As long as I'm eating good, I got my barbecue going, some TV, and I can check out me some titties. That's all they seem to care about. And it's a sad state. And apparently, Pierce, when he wrote this book, he could see it coming in the future. The interesting thing about what they decide to do is they decide to do something that seemed very familiar to me. They decided to strike at the infrastructure, at shipping, at fuel, at food, at all these things, all these little things in our supply chain that keep people comfortable, that keep people fat and lazy. And it made me think, what is going on in our current situation? What has been going on, with this whole sickness and the supply failings and all of that. Makes me wonder, like, this is seems to be outlined in this book. That's one way to reset everything for what they want. So they're getting the people to come over to their side by doing these very things that make everybody uncomfortable. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, it seems like the same things happening to us, you know, but by our government rather than by, you know, a an anti-government organization. So it really, you know, makes you consider, you know, all these different things that are going on, you know, and you know, of course, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories out there about the sickness and you know, the special sauce injections and all that. You know, are all these supply chain disruptions pre-planned? Were they all pre-planned? I tend to think they were, to get us to move in a direction that the powers that be want. And it's a worldwide thing, which is the spookiest part about it. You know, it'd be different if it was just one country, if it was just in America and nowhere else. You know, you would think, well, you know, it's our government or whatever, but you see this on a worldwide scale. It's such a large scale. You wonder what is the real plan behind all of this. You know, it's gotten to a biblical proportion, which is spooky as hell if you look at the big picture. So, you know, what I would like people to do is think about these things. You know, are we being manipulated in such a way by all these disruptions on purpose? Are we being manipulated in such a way to get things put in our bodies that we wouldn't normally have put in our bodies? And then, you know, every time you submit to these things, or you go ahead, get along to get along, you know, you're like, all right, man, I'm just going to do this so I can be comfortable later, so I can go to work, or so I can go to a concert or whatever. And the list of things just keeps on going. It's never enough. How many times do you have to have something put into your body before you finally say, hey, that's enough? You know, they just keep on pushing the envelope farther and farther, you know, and they're finding, as in, you know, the Turner Diaries is basically the same thing. People just don't care as long as they can check out titties online and stuff like that. As long as their bellies are full and their minds are in a, you know, a virtual universe, they don't seem to care, which is a scary, scary place to be when you're surrounded by those people and you see everything what's going on. So I don't know how many people out there see it, but if you do, drop me a comment, like, share, subscribe, and I'll check you YouTubers out later and tomorrow for the next chapter.